All right.
Oh my God.
I do appreciate that, Brother Omar. I know that you probably come up here with a little trepidation in your heart. I'm glad you came. I want to welcome everybody today. Right, wonderful day. We got a nice little warm weather for a little spell in here. Right, I know everybody's been sick, and I appreciate, and I know the Lord appreciates that you're going to come here and you worship with us. All right, we read from 2 Corinthians. Now, no other book actually reveals Paul's heart than in 2 Corinthians. You ever feel like quitting? Ever just feel like throwing in the towel? Well, so did Paul. Right? He shows us how God gives us strength. And even when we feel like we can't go on, how God will give us the strength to do that. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been falsely accused of something?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what that's like, huh? So, what do you do when you're falsely accused? Especially when you've been accused by people that you love and you trust. Right? Now, it's one thing if you get accused by a stranger, but it's something more when you get accused by somebody that you love, somebody in your inner circle. Man, that pain hurts. You know? How does a Christian respond in that kind of situation? Well, we should start by thinking about our friends. And we start thinking about biblical principles that apply to us, that when we are unfairly accused. Now, Jesus said in Matthew 5:11, "Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me." Now, the phrase means all kinds of evil. That means like all the followers of Jesus are going to endure insults, lies, ridicule, false accusations, and those attacks are going to come in all different ways. Right? We only need to look at what the world did to Christ to understand what they're going to do to us. Some of these attacks are going to come against our faith. Sometimes our motives are going to be questioned. Sometimes our words are going to get twisted. We're going to get ostracized for our views. That's criticized too. Sometimes we're going to be deliberately misquoted. And then sometimes we're going to be part of a whisper campaign. That's when you can't even pin down where these accusations are coming from. The point to remember here is these attacks are going to happen. It's part of what it means to be a member of Christ's family. So don't be surprised when it does happen. We're not going to always get along with our brothers and sisters in Christ. In Ephesians, the book is kind of evenly divided between theology and practical applications. And Paul finishes up with Ephesians 1 and 3. He ends with the reminder that God is able to do far more than we could ask to do for ourselves. And he goes on to the so-called practical application of Christian living. And what's the first thing he says in Ephesians 4? The very first thing out of his mouth is, always be humble and gentle, patiently put up with each other, and love each other. And you kind of understand what the implications of that is? Patiently put up with each other. NSAB says, showing tolerance for each other. Now, after all that high-sounding talk of theology that he gives in Ephesians, then all of a sudden he comes back and he says, you're going to have to put up with a lot of nonsense inside of your church. Get used to it. Sometimes people are going to hear what they want to hear regardless of what you just said. Don't be surprised if because of your best efforts, your actions are criticized and your motives are questioned. So what do we got to do? Even when that happens, we have to speak the truth as gently as possible. It is very possible that in our haste to defend ourselves, we are going to talk too much, too soon, and with too much emotion. Of course, there are times that we need to speak that truth, but in those moments, we must remember to speak those truths in love. And this is a fact that I have been reminded by my mentors on more than one occasion, because I have a habit of when I am confronted, I spout right off. That's me. I have anger in me against that person, and I will not speak out in love. I will speak out in anger, and that is not a biblical way. When we do speak, we want to state the facts. We want to lay out the truth as we see it. But you can't presume to judge what the other person's heart is, even if they're unfairly judging yours. Don't say anything in a heated moment that you're going to regret later. And watch out for emails. God, how I know this. Once you send out that email, you can't bring it back. What you've said is out there. And sometimes the Lord uses these very painful moments to move us on to new ministries, new areas of service, sometimes to a new church altogether. We can't always see in advance what God's plan is for us. And sometimes He uses those times of trouble to do just that. Speak the truth in love. Leave the results in God's hands. But I want you to fight against being a victim. Now, you know when you're in the victim mode? When you feel wronged, and usually by your friends, and it's an unfair accusation. It's when you can't get your side of the story fairly told. That whole thing eats at you, night and day. It interferes with your sleep. You can't stop talking about it. And you know when you can't stop talking about it, when your friends, your close friends go, here he goes again. You become consumed with that. And you lose focus completely. You say and do foolish things. And they're going to hurt you. They're probably going to permanently damage your relationships. You're going to end up miserable, frustrated, and nothing gets solved. I want to ask you that when these times happen, pray this prayer. It's really simple. Oh Lord, let the truth come out and let your will be done. Excuse me. It's a good little prayer because it focuses on God's will. Not on your accusers and not on yourself. You want the truth to be told, but you want it to be done in God's will. It said one of our biggest mistakes is when we rush out there to defend ourselves. In most of these situations, the truth from God's point of view will be more than what you see or everybody else sees. And God's will always goes well beyond our limited point of view. We need to guard our heart. Proverbs says, above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. Now, what exactly is your heart? Your heart is your inner core. It's your thoughts, it's your feelings, and it's the choices that you make that defines the person that you are. And the Bible tells us that our thoughts often dictate who we become. The mind of a man reflects who he really is, and not just simply his actions or his words. It's why God examines a man's heart, not his outward appearance, what he appears to be to the world. And we desperately need that kind of reminder when we're under attack. Let's face it, unless we guard our own heart, we're going to soon be down in the gutter with our accusers. Tempted to answer in kind. We want to attack them because they've attacked us. We want to vilify them. We want to smear their reputation. In general, we want to do what they did to us. And it's frightening, especially to me in my own attitudes, how quickly we fall into that. Remember, you can't control what people say and think about you. Out of your hands. Especially in this internet age. Anybody with a computer can make any kind of an ugly attack on you. They post it on some internet site, and then they hide behind it. Technology has made it very easy to say things about people and post it on Facebook and YouTube and all the rest of it. So our challenge is to guard our own heart. Like I said, you can't control what other people do and say about you. Here's what we do. We stay in the Word. We repeat the promises that God has made us. Hang out with our positive friends. People are still going to stay on your side. Ask your friends to hold you accountable for what you say and do. Pray that Christ will be